Every 4 years, the political atmosphere in many countries shifts dramatically, and nowhere is this more evident than during a presidential election. Media headlines, news alerts, social media discussions, and debates become an inescapable part of our daily lives. But have you ever thought about how all this election noise is affecting your mental health? In this video, we'll explore how media coverage during presidential elections impacts our minds, from increased stress and anxiety to deepening social divides and polarization. More importantly, we'll talk about ways to stay informed without compromising your mental well-being. Let's get started. The media has always played a crucial role in elections. It's how we stay informed, form opinions, and participate in the democratic process. But over time, the nature of media has changed, and so has its influence on our emotions and mental state. Let's break it down. Traditional media, like TV networks and newspapers, are still a dominant source of information, setting the agenda for public discourse. But with the rise of social media, news consumption has become a 24/7 experience, personalized, interactive, and often sensationalized. While traditional media often tries to present an air of neutrality, social media thrives on engagement, which means that posts, headlines, and videos that stir emotions like anger, fear, and excitement are more likely to go viral. Media outlets are not just observers, they're storytellers, framing the narrative and shaping how we perceive candidates, policies, and election issues. The framing of these stories can have profound mental effects on how we understand and emotionally respond to the political landscape. Segment 2. The psychological impact of election coverage. Presidential elections are high-stakes events, and it's not surprising that they stir up a lot of emotions. But it's not just about excitement or anticipation, there's also stress, anxiety, frustration, and even anger. Let's explore some of the most common mental effects of election coverage through media. Election, stress and anxiety. If you've ever felt anxious about the outcome of an election, you're not alone. Many people experience what some psychologists call election stress disorder. It's that feeling of tension and unease that comes from constantly consuming news about the election. During election seasons, media coverage often frames every event as a do-or-die scenario, heightening emotions and making the stakes feel incredibly high. When every headline screams about potential crises, it's natural to feel on edge. Fear and uncertainty about the future. The media's constant focus on potential outcomes, what will happen if candidate A wins versus candidate B, creates an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. This fear can lead to catastrophic thinking. What will happen to my healthcare? Will the economy collapse? Will my rights be protected? Polarization and the us versus them mentality. Emotional fatigue and burnout. Segment 3. Social media and the spread of information. One major factor is the echo chamber effect. Social media platforms use algorithms to show you content similar to what you've engaged with before. So if you frequently interact with politically charged content, you're likely to see more of it, and from perspectives that match your own beliefs. While it might feel validating to see content that aligns with your views, it can also isolate you from opposing perspectives, leading to a more polarized and narrow view of the world. Then there's the spread of misinformation, or what's often called fake news. False or misleading stories can spread rapidly on social media, stirring emotions and contributing to confusion, fear, and anxiety. And since many people get their news from social platforms, they may struggle to differentiate between credible and non-credible sources. When you're exposed to false or exaggerated claims, it can lead to heightened emotional responses, whether that's fear, anger, or despair. And once those emotions are triggered, it's easy to spread that misinformation further. Lastly, social media creates a pressure to participate, whether it's sharing your political views, posting about the latest debate, or joining online discussions. There's a sense that if you're not vocal about the election, you're not engaged. While this can be a great way to engage civically, it can also add to stress, especially when conversations turn heated or when there's pressure to prove your allegiance to one side or the other. So, with all this information flying around and emotions running high, how can you protect your mental well-being during election season? Here are some practical tips. It's important to stay informed, but that doesn't mean you have to be plugged in 24/7. Set specific times to check the news or social media and stick to them. For example, try limiting yourself to 30 minutes of news consumption each morning and evening instead of constant updates throughout the day.